So we're going through a divorce and a custody battle, and it's horrible. All these things are happening. Your ex is with somebody else. You know that person. It's so common. It's horrible. She's posting about you on social media. It's evil, but you have to go to court in order to defend yourself, whether that's for false claims or custody. You can't keep your kids. She's keeping them from you, using them as hostages, all that sort of stuff. There's two things that are massively important for this. And that is, you need to check your anger. You need to run things by other people. And then there's a third thing of why we're all doing this. We're doing this so we can be great fathers, build a great community, culture, society, imprint on ourselves, so that we can have the highest expression of masculinity, which I believe is wisdom and virtue. Those things have to be worked. If we have kids, they're important that you work them. And that's what we're going to talk about here. The most important things that we need to understand when we move into a court case for divorce and custody, especially, when it's crazy, when there's conflict, when there's false claims, when there's somebody saying you're a drug addict, when there's all these things happening, which women so commonly do in our day and age and culture, we need to understand that there's a protocol for us men to follow. And number one, I'm just going to say right now, there's plenty of videos on this and there will be more to come. If you are in a court case and you are being threatened over any of these things, you need a lawyer. I don't care if the court systems are flawed, if they're totally against you, if they hate men, if it's a business, if lawyers rip you off. That doesn't mean that you don't need a lawyer. And what that means is you need to be able to have the right tools to find a good lawyer, to understand if you need to fire a lawyer or whatever the situation is. You need to learn how to work within the court system. You also need to understand is that you're going in front of a court and you need to speak the language of that court. That means that you don't need to speak the gossip of what your friends think or how you talk trash with your ex or what her family members or your family members think the situation should be. It needs to be able to read in a court. And this is where an experienced lawyer is important. So if you want any information on this, I have PDFs and all that sort of stuff, and there's a link somewhere where you can get it. And I highly, highly recommend you doing this. So, one of the biggest protocols that you need to understand in this situation is your emotions are going to get you in trouble. All right. If you have the best lawyer, if you have the best favors or the best favorability in a state or whatever country, yada, 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 you don't know what's going to happen in court. If you have an ex that is angry and attacking you, you are going to get very easily stimulated. If the situation is unfair and she has done horrific things, like stuff which would put a man in jail, but she gets to be paraded on social media as being an empowered woman for, it may not stop. All these things are super important for you to take into consideration. And it doesn't matter what planning you have to plan for the worst in any court situation. So what's important here is that you need to have, I say, 3 to 5 people that you can call every day, any time of the day. And for me, I have people all over the world that I can do this with, but to run by different actions and decisions that come into play. All right. So you need to be able to have people to check you. When you're angry, you're always right. When you're angry, you need to act now. And when you're angry, you're also going to make some of the dumbest decisions of your life because you think you're right and you got to act now. And if you don't act now, the whole world's going to fall apart. Your kids are going to be in danger and all that sort of stuff. This is completely against masculinity. This is completely against wisdom. This is completely against higher thought, all the great things that societies can potentially build. And you need to get in touch with it. You need to realize that wisdom is going to come from you thinking about your actions, from you seeing the long game and running a very hard, long game. And in the courts, it's long. With parenting, it's even longer. So let's put a couple things into perspective here. Okay, so if I have a situation where I've been cheated on, I've had my kids taken away, I can't see my kids, and my ex is telling friends, family, the police, whoever, that I'm abusive, it's ruining my reputation, she's posting on social media about what a horrible person I am, and even my own family members are taking her side, all that sort of stuff, guess what? Guess what you need to do? You have to be able to call somebody up before taking any action, any response, any even comment to those things. You need to be able to get legal help if you need to. So if it is something that needs to be handled in a court of law, it doesn't get handled in gossip. It doesn't get handled in talking shit. It gets handled in that way. And you need to walk into this situation with your emotions cooled down. And part of the consequence for this is that if you walk into a courtroom situation where you are still emotional, you've talked a bunch of trash because you haven't been able to control yourself, you're going to force that judge, that mediator, whoever is in charge of making the decisions, you are going to force them into making a reactive decision. And this is how men get screwed. So how this goes is, let's say you're in front of a hearing, or you're in a hearing in front of a judge, and all these claims are going on. You're going, man, that's wrong. I can't believe this is saying, and you're interrupting, and you're interrupting the court. You're disrespecting the court. And then when it comes your turn to talk, all you do is reply about those things, or you get so angry your lawyer doesn't know how to do it, and he starts buying into your drama and getting angry about those things. That judge then looks at the situation and wants to immediately decide what the problem is. Okay? They immediately want to decide what we are going to do to solve this in the safest possible way. If there are false claims against you, he's not going to listen to you because all you did was yell. Now, she got to yell. Yeah, okay, cool. You want to know how to make her look bad? Speak the language of the courts. Speak the language that your lawyer tells you to talk. Speak the language, have the lawyer talk for you, which is what they're supposed to do. And argue the case with proof and how the court speaks. Just a quick definition, how the court actually talks is through proof, evidence, and all that sort of stuff. And witness testimony is going to come last, people's opinions and all that sort of stuff. The most important thing is going to be the concrete evidence. So you have to be able to show that. But if we get into gossip, if we get into opinions, and we get into heated sort of stuff, it ruins everything. If this happens in a deposition, it could be even worse. Because let's say it's about false claims or whatever. You get really angry and say it's stupid. Let's say they realize they don't have a case for false claims anymore. And when it goes in front of a judge, or it goes into whatever negotiating and your lawyers are talking and all that sort of stuff, and just say, man, look, in this situation, your client, they could be saying to your lawyer, your client gave an outburst, reacted out of anger, started threatening me. How do you think that's going to play out in court? And then knowing that that's going to happen to your client, let's go to court. Let's go in front of a judge, and I'm going to do the same thing to your client, and that client's going to do the same thing, and that judge is going to realize he's a violent person. How do you think your odds are going to be? And now all of a sudden your lawyer is fighting an uphill battle. Your lawyer, he or she, is fighting something that they didn't think they had to fight, and they're forced into a settlement and talking you into a settlement. It's one of the worst things that can be done. As a man, we need to understand that we need a team of people around us. We need to run stuff by them. They should not be just your family members or whatever. They should be people who have some wisdom, people who've been there and done that. You also need to check your anger, and you need to check all of your emotions. It's an unfair effed situation. Your time in front of a mediator, a judge, and your time that you give to your lawyer to not waste their time needs to be emotionally controlled. It needs to be thought through and organized. And what is this all for? This is all for so that we can raise our kids, be better men, and carry wisdom. This is huge, a massive thing in it all. And if we don't do it, what do we have? We have a society built on weak and broken people reacting, trying to find a solution. If you want help with any of this stuff, there's links down below. We have groups on this. I've had groups since 2009 that have helped men work through this. We have a huge success rate with men in divorce. I always say, if you can win your case, we will help guide you to win it. Now, I'm also going to say, in winning a case, it's a very, very difficult thing, and winning to you might not be the same definition of what you think. That doesn't mean that you're going to hurt your ex or have her life destroyed or come out on top and be some Greek god that is worshipped by all people. It means that you're going to be a good dad. You're going to do what's best for your kids, and you're going to be able to make the decisions that serve them the best. And that is winning. Sometimes that means stopping your ex. Sometimes that means getting full custody. But most of the time that means putting yourself in a situation where both parents can stabilize and raise the kids best and cut out any false claims, any sort of divides that you have with your kids. If that's what you want and what you should want, we are one of the best resources for you to find in that.